a place where you can be accepted just as you are. And in the Dharma talk today, I'll get into that in just a little bit. We will be joined by a few other people before we're done, but just be comfortable and just enjoy the ambience here as we a little slowly go through some parts of what you could call ritual. But again, it's not empty ritual. It's there for a reason. It's there for you. It's a tool for you to be able to find some peace and calm. Thank you. We prepared a welcome for folks. This little handout is at the back of the foyer. If you didn't pick one up, you can pick one up on your way out. But it gives just a very brief introduction of our temple, and on the back it talks about upcoming activities. So you're welcome to pick one of those up too. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Dharma service. We got a light crowd this morning. I guess everybody's out playing golf or enjoying this beautiful Sunday, first Sunday of summer. Very good, nice weather. Anyways, my name, for those who don't know me, my name is Arturo Rubio, and I'm a certified minister's assistant here at the Buddhist Temple of San Diego, and I will be chairing today's service. Okay, so now we will do silent meditation led by certified minister's assistant, Bill Teague.
So for today's silent meditation, please sit comfortably, but put your hands together in Kansho. I'll ring the bell to indicate the beginning. I'll ring the bell to indicate the end. Silent meditation, I'll ask you to join me in the recitation of the Nembutsu. Everyone, Kansho, please. Please join me in reciting the name of Amida Buddha, invoking his wisdom and compassion. Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Dabs, Namo Dabs, Namo Dabs.
Now Bill Teague will lead us in the chanting of Juseige, which can be found on page 35 in the service book.
Kansho segan hishimu jodo shigan fumanzo seifu joshoka ga omuryo fuidai seshu Fusai Shobingu Seifu Joshoga Gashi Jobundo Myosho Chojippo Kukyo Mishomo Seifu Joshoga Ryoku Jin Shonen Joe Shubongyo Shugumu Jodo Isho Teninshi Jinriki and Daiko Fusho Musaido Shoujo Sankumyo Kosai Shuyakunan Kaihichi Egen Meshi Gommoan Heisokusho Akudo Tsudan Zen Shumon Koso Jomanzo Iyoro Jippo Nichigan Shujuki Tenko Onpugen Ishukai Hozo Kosei Kudoku Ho Jōdai Shuchu Seppo Shishiku Kuyo Isai Butsu Gusoku Shutoku Ho Ga E Shinjoman Toku Isangai O Nyobun Mugechi Tsudan Mifusho Gangaku Eri Toshi Sai Shoso Shigan Yakoka Daisen Okando Koku Shotenin Pouchin Myoke Namandabu 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 Jodo Sei Sai Don Mo Dai Shin Ojo An Rako. Kansho Namo Amida Butsu Namo Amida Butsu Namandab Samandab
Now please rise for the recitation of gratitude for Jodo Shinshu teaching. There should be an insert in your service book. Gratitude for the Jodo Shinshu teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Entrust yourself to me. I will liberate you just as you are. This is the calling voice of Amida. My blind passions are embraced in the Buddha's awakening. So the Buddha calls to me, I will liberate you just as you are. Gratefully responding to the Buddha's call, I find that I am already on the path that leads to the Pure Land, and the Nembutsu flows freely from my thankful heart. Living with the Dharma as my guide softens my rigid heart and mind. Gratitude for the gift of life I have received frees me from becoming lost in greed and anger, and allows me to share a warm smile and speak gentle words. Sharing in the joy and sadness of others, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest. Kansho, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namandabs, Namandabs, Namandabs. You may be seated. Now we will have a Dharma message by Certified Minister's Assistant, Bill Teague.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming today for the service. It's a beautiful day, and I hope we have a beautiful day inside as well. It's traditional in Dharma messages to read a wise and learned passage from one of our great teachers. Often it's a quote from the founder of this particular sect, Shinran Shonin. Very well known, not just in our tradition, but in Japan, for example, considered a great spiritual teacher regardless of people's orientation. Or it could be from one of the sages that Shinran Shonin identified as being especially helpful in allowing him to focus his vision, or from the historical Buddha. They're sometimes a little opaque or a little specialized, and today I chose one that's a little opaque and a little specialized, just so I could give an example of it and then use some of the time we have today to explain it as I understand it. So for this recitation, in which I ask you to listen with open ears and heart, please put your hands together in Gassho. Those committing the 5 grave offenses, those reviling the Dharma, those keeping no precepts, those devoid of seeds for Buddhahood. When any such people have experienced the turnabout and entered the ocean of true and real Shinjin, they are like river waters becoming one in taste with the ocean upon entering it. This is the meaning of they are like waters that on entering the ocean become one with taste with it. The light of compassion that grasps us, illumines and protects us always. The compassionate light of Buddha of an unhindered light always illumines and protects that person. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namadab, Samadab, Samadab. So by way of preface, most of us helping with today's service, my friends Arturo, Rubio, Yukari Williams are certified minister's assistants. My Dharma friend Katie Samita is a minister's assistant. And some of you may know we don't have a resident minister currently. We operate under the supervision of Reverend Gregory Gibbs, a wonderful teacher up in Pasadena. He comes and visits us sometimes. We meet with him regularly by Zoom calls. But in the meanwhile, there is a team of us, and most of you know Reverend Smitty and Reverend Laverne and how beautiful and compassionate, wise their messages are. And the rest of us are given a chance as well to help conduct services. I was always impressed by our most recently retired resident minister, Kenji Akahoshi, because he would always explain that when a minister or a minister's assistant puts on a robe or a ketha, what they're reminding themselves is it's time to learn. Not that they know so much and everybody else doesn't know much at all. So keep that in mind whenever you attend a service. The Buddha always wanted you to be the one to make sense of things, because the phrase in Buddhism is, if you try and follow another person's path without understanding it, you're hurting other people's cattle. You know, it's not germane, it's not authentic. It doesn't affect you. That's why, again and again in our tradition, you'll hear phrases like, come as you are, or something that's general across Buddhist paths. They'll say the Buddhist way is right beneath your feet. That is, we're starting out where we are, who we are, when we are. That's why there's not a better time or place for us to get together. If we're our authentic selves, if we listen to the Dharma with an open heart, open mind, that's all anyone can ask of us. Later on, use your wonderful rationality to see what you can remember of the message and ask yourself, does that make sense? Based on my experience, is there anything that I heard that could help me in my life? I hope so, but if not, that's okay too. Everybody is different. We're supposed to be different. There's not a one-size-fits-all Buddhism, in other words. And among the great spiritual teachers of the world, the historical Buddha was unique in that he would tell people the same thing. He would say, well, listen, and if it's something you can use, hang on to it. If it's not, let go of it. When he was accepting disciples, people would beg him to be a disciple, and he would say, well, where else have you studied? Have you heard so-and-so? Have you gone to this ashram? Have you gone to that place? These are great teachers. I think you'd benefit from it. Listen to them, and if you want to come back at some point, we'll talk further. It was not the case that he had a program that he wanted people to march through lockstep. Yes, if you've studied basic Buddhism, you know there are the Four Noble Truths, which is a way of seeing life, and an Eightfold Noble Path, which is a way to live a spiritual life. But those are suggestions, and they may not even have been for everybody. In the Buddha's first sermon, sometimes called the turning of the first wheel of Dharma, the audience was rarefied. That it wasn't ordinary, everyday people like you and me, householders or house renters or however we get by. I hope everybody's housed. No, these were monks who had renounced the world. They were ascetics who went through difficult spiritual practices already. So when the Buddha suggested a spiritual way as the Eightfold Noble Path, he was talking to people of that caliber. And it's a little bit sad, I guess. We don't have the Buddha's best advice. That is, most often he had learned monks who had phenomenal memories, who would memorize his messages and then in an oral tradition teach another monk of the next generation that message, and so on. It was over 100 years before anything was committed to print. What we don't have very much of is what the Buddha told everyday people like you and me, with whom he met regularly. But there was not necessarily a monk who took it upon himself to transcribe those conversations. We get a touch of it in a book of common sayings called the Dhammapada, which is a lot of great folk advice, wisdom that everyone can relate to, and you might want to check it out. It's pretty common to find because the English translations that are most usually reprinted are out of copyright, so publishers like them. They don't have to pay royalties to anybody. It's a cheap thing for them to reprint. We have some copies in the library downstairs, too. I can help you find them if you'd like. But they speak to us in a way sometimes that the more high-level phrases may not. So that's why I chose this particular reading. You'll hear a reference to Shinjin. If you ask devout Jodo Shinshu Buddhists what Shinjin means, everyone will define it differently. But for practical purposes, let's be practical. Just consider it a kind of special awareness. It doesn't mean you're awakened and you're enlightened, but it means you're on the path. The doctrine in our particular tradition may seem a little strange at first, but that is that simply by reciting Amida's name a few times, authentically, sincerely, we're on a path that will continue to lead forward. The fancy-dancy word is non-retrogression. We won't slide back. Having sincerely, devoutly expressed Amida Buddha's name in gratitude for the wisdom and compassion we inherit through Buddhism, the thought is, the concept is that we're on our way. Now you may not feel, it's not magic, it's not mumbo jumbo, it's not abracadabra. You may not feel like you've been transformed, but every journey is a small step, and then another small step, and then another small step. So having begun that practice, if you feel something in doing it, you may continue it, and you may do some other things to help you live a more spiritual life. You're on your way. And the other concept in Buddhism that covers all Buddhist traditions is that no one is at the end point. It's not the case that the Buddha had his great awakening and then everything was copacetic, he was in a constant state of bliss, nothing bothered him, and he lived another 45 years just blissing out. No. The Buddha continued his practices. The Buddhist phrase for this is polishing the diamond. Even if somehow you make yourself a diamond-like spiritual being, that's not the end point. In our tradition especially, we look upon our ordained reverends as being on the path with us. They may be further ahead, they may be further behind. Another quote from Shinran, I almost used as the opening quote here, was that if others are ahead of me, I will follow. If others are behind me, I will lead. But we're all on the same path. That's why the tradition in Japan, the old school tradition is that when people bow to each other, you're bowing to the potential Buddha of the other person. Because we're all potential Buddhas from a Buddhistic point of view. It doesn't mean we have lots of troubles or worries. The Buddha taught in this world there's always going to be problems and worries. It just means that we can relax a little bit. And maybe we can balance the worries of this life with the appreciation of spiritual values. So to get back to the esoteric quote I began with, it talked about those who were committing the 5 grave offenses. So in traditional Buddhism, going all the way back to the first days of Buddhism, they identified 5 things that were so horrible that they might prevent a person from awakening or becoming a Buddha. And I had to look them up. I knew a few of them, but they include, these are horrible things: killing one's mother, killing one's father, killing an arhat, that's old school language, but a holy person, injuring the body of a Buddha, of a living Buddha, and causing a division in the Buddhist community. Sometimes that last phrase is translated as crimes against the Dharma. Sounds pretty serious. So in the phrase, the long-winded phrase I started with, it's setting out all of these people who are beyond the pale. But unlike early Buddhism, Shinran Shonin said that even someone who committed the 5 great offenses, one of them, we hope only one, we hope none of them, but if someone had, that did not preclude them from the spiritual life. And you'll get a sense of the approach of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism because it is a focus on what we receive as opposed to what we achieve. There's phrases in that quotation that I'll explain in a moment that reflect that. So we've identified Shinjin, we've talked about the 5 great offenses. But Shinjin is likened to an ocean. We are likened to freshwater streams entering the ocean through no volition of our own, through no great accomplishments of our own, through no achievements of our own, to join with the water, the salt water of the ocean. And at that moment, we become more like in taste to the ocean of wisdom and compassion, the ocean of Shinjin. The concept in Jodo Shinshu is that if we are able to go ahead and relieve somewhat the neuroses of everyday life, if we find a little bit of balance, we'll be even more able to appreciate what we receive. And maybe over the years, we become a little bit more understanding of other people, a little more compassionate. Forgiving ourselves, which if you look at it is actually pretty easy. We're usually pretty easy on ourselves. But more forgiving of others. One of the most popular recitations in Buddhism is the Metta Sutta, or in our service book, we call it the Loving Kindness Meditation, but it begins, may all beings be happy and well, may no harm or difficulty come to them, may we live in peace and harmony. And then every self-help book under the sun does a variation of the next stanza, which is, may I be happy and well, may no harm or difficulty come to me, may I live in peace and harmony. But the sutra does not let us off the hook. First, we start with people we love, family, friends, teachers. And then it pushes further. We talk about strangers. May strangers be happy and well. May they live in peace and harmony. And then it moves on to our enemies. May my enemies be happy and well. May no harm or difficulty come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. And then it returns to the opening phrase, may all beings be happy and well. But by the time we say the last phrase, if we're sincere about the other phrases, we've earned it. It's not the case of just saying things to make us happy or to feel good. We've opened up, if we're sincere, we've opened up to be compassionate to all sentient beings, which is possible in a spiritual sense. With that progress, we can become, in this world, better people. In this world where we talk about better and worse people. In the spiritual world, those distinctions are not quite the same. If we're capable of seeing the potential Buddha in all beings, maybe we're less likely to have enemies the way we thought we had enemies before. We're human. We like people or we don't like people. We have all sorts of unknown or not known to ourselves biases. There have been psychological tests that show this. Maybe over time we become sensitive to even those. But all we share together and all that life continues to offer us on beautiful days like today, or days less propitious, more difficult, maybe way too hot, maybe way too cold. The wisdom and compassion of Buddha find us there. So thank you for letting me share that opaque quotation, but it's supposed to let us know you're okay as you are. You're on the path. You're a potential Buddha. Please join me in Kansho. Those committing the grave offenses, those reviling the Dharma, those keeping no precepts, those devoid of seeds for Buddhahood, when any such people have experienced a turnabout and entered the ocean of true and real Shinjin, they are like river waters becoming one in taste with the ocean upon entering it. The light of compassion that grasps us illumines and protects us always. The compassionate light of the Buddha of unhindered light always illumines and protects that person. Kansho, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namada Samada. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill, for your Dharma message. Thank you for talking a little bit about how the historical Buddha used to teach in ways of parables, how he would customize his message to, depending on his audience. And I like how you elaborated on the Nembutsu and Jodo Shinshu and how it applies to us common folk in our daily lives. And also the thought of everyone being students. Yes, certified ministers, assistants, and ministers, we wear robes, but at the end of the day, we're all students of Buddhism just like everybody else. We're in the same path. Okay, so with that, please rise and join us in singing Ondokusan, which can be found on page 128. Kansho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabs, namandabs, namandabs. You may be seated. Are there any announcements?
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Arturo. Just what Arturo was referring to earlier about playing golf is today is the temple's golf tournament. So a lot of people are out there in the warm weather playing golf. So I'm Glenn, representing today the Activities and Strategic Planning Committee. I've kind of introduced it as starting pickleball. I know it's a very popular sport. We are planning to start pickleball in September of this year. It's something that we've been discussing, and we have a plan in place. So we're looking for people that want to play, not only play, but volunteer to help, people with experience, because I know nothing about I've never played, but so we're just between now and September, we're in the planning stages and looking for people that want to help. And like I said, we do have a sign-up sheet. It's down in the office. And that's just kind of a quick introduction to pickleball. So I hope you all, it's for everybody, no charge, all ages. We will have some professional instruction, not by me, but so hope you attend. And like I said, the sign-up sheet is down below. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Margot. I'm making the last announcement about people ordering the T-shirts for the Maui fire victims. Their temple got burned down, and probably everybody at the golf tournament's probably wearing these today. So anyway, this is the last day to order. The BWA will be placing one order, and we're paying for the shipping. So we won't have to do that. It'll be ordered at the end of the month. Thank you.
And just a reminder that the school supply donation drive is ending next Sunday, the 30th. We are working with Hope for San Diego on that drive, and all the school items that we're gathering will go into backpacks that will be given to low-income children for the next school year. So the list of specific items that they're looking for is on the collections box, which is right outside the office, and also there's a list on our website. There's an article with a list of all the items that are needed. So thanks everybody who's already supported this cause. So that's it for announcements. Please join me in Gassho for closing meditation. May the wisdom of the all-compassionate one so shine within our hearts and minds that the mists of error and the foolish vanity of self be dispelled. So shall we understand the changing nature of existence and reach spiritual peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabs, namandabs. And to close, I'd like to thank Certified Minister's Assistant Bill Teague for being our Dharma leader and setting up the Onaijin, and Ong for being our musical accompanist this morning, Minister's Assistant Katie Sumida for ringing the Kansho, Certified Minister's Assistant Yukari Williams for leading chanting practice this morning, and Ricky Cheeks for helping with the live streaming. So that concludes today's service. You can come forward and offer incense. Also, please join us downstairs for hospitality. And if you have any questions, come forward. If you have any questions about Bill Teague's Dharma talk, Jodo Shinshu, or Buddhism in general, please come forward. Bill will be around for a few minutes to answer any questions. So hope you have a great Sunday, great rest of your day. Thank you for coming.